You'd better buy a four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma or you're gonna lose your man card. What? Let's talk about it. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Robmotive. Real quick, if you haven't before, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. So let's talk about, what am I talking about? You better buy a four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma or you're gonna lose your man card. You know, I've had both. I've had two-wheel drive, I've had four-wheel drive, and right now I have a two-wheel drive. And it's amazing to me the amount of peer pressure, the amount of flack that you take if you don't buy a four-wheel drive truck, even if you're never gonna need it. Now, it's probably more prevalent in the social media world, but that's where a lot of people live these days, it seems. You know, I catch a lot of flack on the channel about not having a four-wheel drive Tacoma. But when I look at it, I can take it. I still have my man card, it's intact, and I'm okay. So what does it cost you if you buy a four-wheel drive Tacoma and you don't need one? You never use it. And that's a question I would ask. If you have a four-wheel drive Tacoma, over the last year, how many times did you actually use it? How many times did you take it off-road? Leave a comment at the end and let me know. I'd be very curious. So let's get into it. What does it cost you if you shell out the money for a four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma and you don't need it? Well, number one is the price right off the bat. They cost more money. And it makes sense because there's more parts in them, right? I mean, you've got the four-wheel drive system. So you're gonna pay more money off the top on the sticker when you buy a four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma, somewhere in the range of $1,500 to $2,500. It just depends on the trim levels and what else you get and all that kind of stuff. Number two, weight. They weigh more. Makes sense, right? There's more parts, there's more weight added to the truck. It's gonna make the already slow Tacoma even slower than it is. I noticed when I went from my four-wheel drive, albeit a manual, to a two-wheel drive, it's quicker. I did a 0 to 60 test on it on the channel. I've done it on both. And it's quicker. I like that. I would rather enjoy the power of the Tacoma than ride around with that extra weight to have a four-wheel drive system that I never use. Well, I take that back. I do use it once in a while, and that's to go ahead and click it on to keep everything lubricated so it doesn't have a problem should I ever need to use it. So it's just one more thing for me to remember to do on a system that I don't need. And that brings me to number three, the maintenance. There is more maintenance involved with a four-wheel drive truck, a four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma, because there's more parts to take care of, more things to keep lubricated, more things to check out, and more things that can go wrong. So if you have problems with it, and again, it's a system that you never use, it can cost you more money just for the privilege of having it. You know, that little badge on the back, it says four-wheel drive. That could cost you a lot more money when you don't use it in the first place. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Number four, now, this is actually a positive. Because of the perception out there that you should have a manual, or a four-wheel drive rather, they're worth more money. People want them just so they can say they have them. It gets you more money when you trade it off, and it makes them easier to sell because the market is bigger for four-wheel drive trucks. It baffles me though as to why. I guess it still is just peer pressure, or maybe the people that say, well, it's better to have it if you never ever need it. Well, there's a lot of things in life that it's better to have if you ever need it. You know, like a lot of cash sitting in the safe at your house. How many people do that? What about your savings account? You know, the things that really matter? You know, there's always stories coming out about how we Americans don't save enough money, and if there's ever a problem, we could only last for a week or two. That's the kind of stuff that you need to worry about in case you ever need it. And I guess if you've got all the other important stuff covered, maybe a bunch of food and water if there's ever some kind of disaster. How much of that do you have sitting around? Maybe the money that you would have spent on the four-wheel drive Tacoma could go in the safe or invested in emergency supplies should you ever need them. You know, the important things. But again, resale, it is out there. They are quicker to sell, and you will bring in a little bit more money. But keep in mind, as I mentioned in the beginning, you're gonna pay more money for that truck at the onset. So is it really worth it or just a wash? Probably just a wash or wash. Number 5, this is use. And this is what you really have to consider. And this is what I considered when I bought mine, when I've bought four-wheel drive versus two-wheel drive. You know, honestly, the only reason I bought a four-wheel drive at all was to experience it for the channel. It's part of the business, part of what I do. So I could justify spending the extra money and having that four-wheel drive for that purpose. But what are you going to use it for? Now, if you live in a weather area that's snowy, icy, all that kind of stuff, it does come in handy. So it kind of depends on where you live. Although I will say, I used to live in Ohio, now I live in South Texas. We don't get snow, rain, all that. We get hurricanes and water, but I never found four-wheel drive to be that useful in water myself. But when I lived in Ohio, we would get snow, we would get ice, and I would use the four-wheel drive system probably about 2 to 3 times a year, whether I really needed to or not. And honestly, I probably never needed to use it. You know, a two-wheel drive is just as capable with a little bit of weight in the back. You got to get some weight on those tires. That's the big difference. And speaking of tires, you do need to have decent tires that can handle the kind of weather that you're going to be in. You know, I only wish that when I lived in Ohio and I had my four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive trucks, that I would have tried out a Meteor, more aggressive tire, because I think the results would have been much better and I wouldn't have needed four-wheel drive at all. What about off-roading? That really is the only area that I think you can truly justify having a four-wheel drive truck. Now, again, it's not to say a two-wheel drive isn't capable. I would say a two-wheel drive truck can go most places that most people go when they're off-road. Put the right tires on. You know, a buddy of mine, Randall, you may have seen him on my Jeep channel, Robmotive JT. He's mentioned to me before, and I think he's right, that, you know, it's not really about the four-wheel drive system unless you're into something really heavy. A two-wheel drive is just as capable. It comes down to the tires that are on the truck and whether or not you're going to get through those areas you need to get through. And I think he's right. I would agree. So anyway, are you better off to buy a four-wheel drive Toyota Tacoma? Are you going to lose your man card if you don't? Well, what I have to say to that is who cares? Don't justify your manhood by the vehicle that you drive. Just be a man or a woman. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you buy four-wheel drive trucks just because of the peer pressure and because of what your buddies are going to say if you tell them you bought a two-wheel drive? I'd be curious to know. Once again, if you didn't in the beginning, make sure you smash that subscribe button and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. I do have 2 additional channels. Robmotive JT, all about the Jeep Gladiator, which is four-wheel drive, by the way. And Robmotive MT, all about mini trucks. Right now, a 2022 Hyundai Santa Cruz. Check them out, and if you're interested, why not subscribe? Thanks for watching. Stay manly out there. Bye.